Bob, the purchasing manager, receives a purchase request to purchase some printers for inventory stock. Bob goes to the Item Master data table to find out who's the preferred vendor for the JB Office printer that he's been asked to purchase. Under his Purchasing Data tab, he sees who the preferred vendor is and any alternate vendors who might also supply these printers. Bob decides that he's going to place an order with Acme Associates. Bob goes back to his purchase order window and opens up a purchase order ticket. He begins to type in Acme as the vendor, and the system finds the default information for Acme and Associates. He's going to call Sarah and place the order. Bob wants to have the A001 printers, so he starts to put in A001 and hits Tab button, and the system finds all of the part numbers beginning with A00. It's the A001 that he needs to order, so he chooses that line item. He can now manage the quantity of inventory that he desires, and they actually wanted to order 10. So Bob puts 10 into the quantity field. This updates the purchase order, including the sales tax in the bottom right-hand corner. Bob, all he has to do now is add this order to the system. So this order is now in the system and waiting arrival. When we go to the warehouse, the purchase order, several days later, a delivery ends up in the warehouse. The packing list is pulled, and we can see that it's a delivery from Acme Associates. The warehouse person opens his goods receipt PO and says, I have a delivery from Acme. He puts in Acme in his contact name, and it finds the default information for the Acme Associates. We want to find the purchase order that's associated with the packing list, and we can copy that purchase order direct into the receipt from this screen. He sees that it is purchase order 660, and he's going to select that and choose that to enter into the goods receipt. We acknowledge that it has one line item and it has 10 units, so we're going to push that into the goods receipt PO, and now we're going to add this to inventory. What this does is add the item as a unit in inventory and create a to be paid form. So if we look at the goods receipt PO, we can now copy that to an AP invoice. When we copy this to an AP invoice, this is the handoff to the finance department. So once we add that, we can now see that we have the ability for a three-way match. We can see that the system had started with purchase order 660. We're doing a goods receipt PO of 644, and now we're creating an AP invoice of 596. So we add that to the system. Once we add that to the system, we can now wait for the formal invoice from the client and do our three-way match. When we come back and look at the transactions for this, we can see through our relationship map that SAP has tracked the history of this transaction. So we started with a purchase order, we had a goods receipt in the warehouse, and we now have an AP invoice waiting for the client invoice for the three-way match so we can pay. The red line indicates that the AP invoice is still open and has not been paid, so it is a liability to us. And that's a walkthrough of the purchasing process in SAP Business One.